Thank you for your interest in COMET-Planner. COMET-Planner was created in 2017 as an alternative to Comet Farm that was simpler, easier to use, and could demonstrate the relative benefits of NRCS conservation practices within a given region against the baseline data. It only takes about 4 clicks and generates on-the-fly results when users select a conservation scenario and enter the acreage it's applied to. Now, before diving in, I'll direct you to the About tab on the home page, which offers helpful resources for first-time users. The Need Help widget is also available in the lower right-hand corner with solution articles and frequently asked questions. Now, returning back to the home page, the first step is to enter a project name and select a state and county for your assessment using the drop-down menus. In this case, I'm just going to select Larimer County, Colorado. Step 2 will be to select your land use. COMET-Planner offers conservation practice standards within the categories of cropland management, cropland herbaceous cover, grazing lands, restoration of disturbed lands, and woody plantings. You'll notice that the options available in Step 3 are going to change depending on what land use selection you make. Step 3 has 2 parts. First, you'll use the drop-down menu to select which conservation practice standard you want to assess. And depending on that selection, you'll then select a conservation practice implementation. These are multi-select buttons, so you can choose more than one, and you can use the vertical scroll bar to view all the practices. Plus, we have the additional optional filter system where you can filter by certain key terms in order to limit the practices that are visible in the list. As you select a practice in Step 3, they'll populate automatically in the table below. But before we go look at the report, we can add as many practices as we'd like, not only from across land uses, so I'm going to hop over to grazing lands and add prescribed grazing, but a new update in COMET-Planner version 4.0 is that we can also add practices across states and counties. So while I previously was assessing Larimer County, Colorado, I'm also going to add some practices from Laramie, Wyoming, and compare those 2 practices across state and county. In the Step 4 report, the final step is to enter the total acreage each conservation practice standard will be applied to. In its basic form, the values provided in the report reflect the average annual tons of CO2 equivalent per year. Positive values, or those values shown in blue, indicate a reduction in greenhouse gas emissions or an increase in sequestration, whereas negative values, those shown in red, indicate a loss of carbon or increased emissions of greenhouse gases. COMET-Planner version 4 has also added several display toggles. One of the biggest changes is that users can now view baseline and scenario emissions in addition to emission changes due to conservation practice adoption. While baseline and conservation values are now provided, we do want to remind users that this evaluation tool is designed to provide generalized estimates of the greenhouse gas impacts of conservation practices, and it's intended just for initial planning purposes, and that site-specific conditions are required for more detailed assessments, which Comet Farm is a great tool for that. Scrolling down, you can see how your carbon sequestration and greenhouse gas emission reduction estimates were calculated, including the emission reduction coefficients that were used. This is also visible in the display toggle that we previously looked at. You can see the detailed emission report, and that will include those same emission reduction coefficients. Because COMET-Planner does not allow users to create an account or save your projects, we would recommend downloading your results either as a PDF or a CSV. Lastly, the info button next to each conservation practice standard includes a pop-up populated with the NRCS conservation practice information, as well as a little bit about the methods behind the greenhouse gas emission calculation. Finally, if you're interested in using the underlying data provided in COMET-Planner, you can visit the Download tab at the top of the page. You'll be asked to fill out some basic information, and I encourage users to read the attributes listed under Terms and Conditions. Once you've completed that, you can download the full data set. Thank you so much for watching. As always, you can visit our Need Help widget for frequent answers to frequently asked questions, or you can contact us at appnrel@colostate.edu. Thanks.